Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. Happy Friday. So a lot of you guys have been requesting a new Star Wars video explaining what's going to be canon with the new Star Wars movies. So I'm going to explain the books, the movies, the video games, everything that they're including as part of this new storyline that they're doing. The good thing is that they're not throwing the entire expanded universe away. The Clone Wars TV show is like the biggest thing that they're keeping. So if you're a big fan of the Clone Wars, you don't have to worry. They're not dumping that in the trash. We even have Ahsoka on Star Wars Rebels. If you haven't seen the first episode of Star Wars Rebels Season 2, they've actually aired it a couple times since Star Wars Celebration earlier this year. It bridges the gap with Clone Wars in a really interesting way, and they just announced that some of the Clone Troopers are coming back. But that's just part of it. For the longest time, the Star Wars Expanded Universe just existed in the books and the games. That was actually where I picked it up with the Thrawn trilogy. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that's getting thrown in the dumpster. So like Grand Admiral Thrawn, not going to be a thing in the new Star Wars universe. That's okay though. I mean, if you really like that stuff, just go back and read it again. But there's this big Lucasfilm initiative that they're calling Journey to Star Wars: The Force Awakens, and it's a way to describe all of the new books that they're publishing as part of the new canon. The book they just released, Star Wars Aftermath, is part of that. That's kind of the beginning of that, but they did release a Tarkin novel that's also part of that. There's also a bunch of smaller books that they're writing for young children, which I totally will not judge you if you want to read. Starting with the first book, Star Wars Aftermath, if you haven't read this yet, this is all about what happens to the Empire in the wake of the Battle of Endor. So they're basically shattered, they have to regroup and figure out what they're going to do next. So it's all about the rise of the New Order, which is like the name of the new organization built on the bones of the Empire. It also starts to create some context for what's going on with Force users, both dark and light side. Now, we know Kylo Ren was part of the Knights of Ren. That's how he chose his name. He has a real name that we don't know yet, so there's a lot of theories about what that might be. I don't want to do any spoilery stuff, but there is one really big theory about who he's related to and why he's so obsessed with Darth Vader. Aftermath just shows you Kylo Ren going around searching for Sith artifacts. So he's searching for former possessions of Darth Vader's, like his lightsaber. Remember, Darth Vader technically had two lightsabers. There was the lightsaber he created when he was Anakin Skywalker, that actually shows up in the Episode 7 trailer, and then there was the later lightsaber that he built when he became Darth Vader. The most important lightsaber to keep track of is Anakin's. We meet a really cool bounty hunter droid named Mr. Bones. Bounty hunter droid's gonna continue to be a thing in the Star Wars universe. We learn a little bit more about the hierarchy of the Empire in the wake of the Battle of Endor. Even though the Emperor was supreme ruler, had a grand design for the galaxy, there were a circle of advisors around him. So they all begin to rise to power. They have their own ideas about the direction they should be taking. And the dark side of the Force is really important for that. And we kind of learn what's going on with some of the original casts, like Han and Chewie. So Star Wars Aftermath getting relatively mixed reviews on the way it ended its storyline, but again, it is the beginning of this Journey to Star Wars: The Force Awakens book series. So read it, don't read it. You don't really have to understand what's going on in the books to understand what's going on in the movie, but it does paint a bigger picture, it does add context. The next book after that is called Lost Stars, which is about a Wedge Antilles type character that goes to the Imperial Academy, but then decides to join the rebellion. Then there's a Princess Leia book, then there's a Han Solo Chewie adventure, then there's a Luke Skywalker book. So those last three books, the ones about the original characters, probably going to be the most popular ones. So you can wait for those, you'll probably be fine. On top of all that stuff, if you guys didn't know, Marvel Comics has started republishing Star Wars comics. They have a new Star Wars comic, there's a new Princess Leia comic, they even have a Lando comic they just started. Everything that happens in those comics is going to influence what's happening in the new movies. You may have heard about a big change they made to the Princess Leia Han Solo storyline. They introduced this big twist in Han Solo's backstory. A bunch of people got really upset about it. I think it's fine. I mean, they're trying to take the character in a new direction without changing him too much. But if you want to learn all about that, just read the Marvel Star Wars comic book. Let's just say we're learning new things about Han Solo's backstory that are going to inform the future of his relationship with Princess Leia. And then, of course, in the video game universe, Star Wars Battlefront, gonna be canon to the movies too. They're gonna have this event in it called the Battle of Jakku. Jakku is this planet in the Star Wars Episode 7 trailer. So it's gonna explain why this Star Destroyer crashed on Jakku, why this wreckage is sitting here. So as long as you're watching the Clone Wars, reading the new comics, reading the new books that they've been publishing in the last year or so, you'll totally be fine. All those things, all canon. The things that I really want to learn more about, though, are the Knights of Ren, this weird organization that Kylo Ren belonged to, that's not Sith, but they're not good Jedi, so it's kind of weird. The only thing that I know J.J. Abrams has completely deleted from Star Wars is the idea of midichlorians. He said there is no mention of midichlorians in the new movies, which I think everybody's going to be really happy about. But I think what they're trying to do with some of the new dark side characters is slowly move away from the Sith as this crutch for bad guys. Think about the way you interpret religion. There's a lot of different faiths. There's there's Muslims, there's Christianity, there's Hinduism, all kinds of different religions around the world. The new films are just going to explore some alternate interpretations of the Force. So like Supreme Leader Snoke, the character that Andy Serkis is playing, supposed to be Force sensitive, very evil character, but not a Sith character. I know a lot of you have been asking me about Darth Plagueis. J.J. Abrams already said that he's not in the new movies. The reason everyone's wondering about him is because he arguably found a way to cheat death. And supposedly, Andy Serkis' character is like this ancient creature, so everyone's like, well, is this the character that Palpatine was talking about when he was talking about Darth Plagueis? I don't think that's the case. I think that Andy Serkis' character is a new character. I've seen a couple crazy theories about Darth Vader being in the new trilogy. The reason that people thought that Darth Vader might be in the new trilogy is because last week, as part of like the Star Wars Aftermath storyline, there's this graffiti that said Vader lives, and it's all about Kylo Ren. So people are like, maybe Kylo Ren is trying to resurrect Darth Vader, but I think that he is just trying to become the new Darth Vader in a metaphorical way, like he's trying to take that persona. So when people say that Darth Vader is present in the new films, I think that he's just going to try and manifest him through his personality. His mask was inspired by Vader's. He's searching for Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber, so I think that he's just obsessed with Darth Vader. I don't think he's physically trying to resurrect him. But that's just my interpretation. That's just what I thought after I read that rumor. More on the Star Wars Expanded Universe though. Let me know, when did you guys first get into the Expanded Universe? Was it in the 90s with the original books, like when the books started being published, or was it later with the Clone Wars when that started? It is kind of a bummer they're dropping some of the cooler stuff from the Star Wars Expanded Universe, but what I think will end up happening is they'll republish a lot of those stories under a different banner, and they'll probably start bundling it so you'll be able to get it for even cheaper. Like whenever Dark Horse passed the comics to Marvel, they sold like this giant bundle of every Dark Horse Star Wars comic ever made for $300, which I think was even more than like 50% off. So it's like you could have gotten all those comics for like super, super cheap. But because we're getting a little bit closer, I'm going to try and start doing more regular Star Wars videos, so be sure to subscribe to get everything. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do Star Wars Rebels videos. I'll at least do a video for the first couple of episodes. It's going to start airing on television later in October on Disney XD, just like it did last year. In case you guys haven't seen it, I actually did do a video for the first episode of Rebels Season 2. You can click here to watch that. Some awesome people show up in that. And you can click here for all my other Star Wars Episode 7 videos. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.